What's going on? It's a great day to be alive. Now, I'm breaking down this track, Big Baller. It made me over $1,500. And I'm doing this breakdown to show you that you don't have to overcomplicate things to get placements on TV for sync licensing. If we look at the track, it's very basic. I'm only using, as you can see, 12 tracks. Got my drum tracks, my synth instrument tracks, and then one bass track. And even for the drums, I'm actually using Logic's automatic drummer, which I like because they give you a lot of variation, and it just takes the thought process out of it. All right, now let's break down this track. First, start with the intro. Nice and subtle. A little drum feel. You're adding more. Now we get into it. So this is the verse. You hear the main motif? That's the main motif. Then add a little clap in there. Add some motion. Then I'll break it down. Now this is a small little bridge section. Then we basically starting over. And that's the beginning of the track, really. And then let me skip to the end so you can hear that sting ending. You see, that's called a sting ending. That's how you want to end your tracks. And that's very different from making music for artists because you usually don't end on that note. They fade out. But tracks for sync licensing, they don't want you to fade out. If they need to fade out the song, they'll do that on their end. So you can see it's very basic. And I think what made this song get so much traction this month that made me over $1,500 was it's simple, but it still has movement. And each level, and what I mean by level, drums, synths, and bass, they all have different movement. So you create what is called alternate tracks. So when you group tracks together, usually you may do a drum and bass version. Let's start from the beginning. Now, if we just play drums and bass, it changes. Now that's different. Most hip hop bass production is just a loop. And look at the bass. Even if we look at the bass, I know you can barely see it, but right here, the drums, you hear that clap added. And then you look at this second bass here, and it's just different. And you hear the drums change too? Then you break it down. So that's just one, what we call alternative tracks. You want to give alternative tracks so that way you have a different version for the people to use. You want to send a full track, you want to send a track without the main instruments, and a drum and bass version. Those are usually the basics that you send. And for as far as the instruments, if I highlight the instruments in solo, that's the main chorus lead. It sounds funny. And then all I did was copy the same track to a different instrument. Same thing. Not fancy. Then you add these little accents to give you transitions into the next bar. See, then you add a little pad, another transition in here. Then that's the little bridge, right? It's different. It keeps the scene moving. Then you're back at the beginning. So You can make your songs traditional verse, chorus, first chorus, but in this case, I made it verse, bridge, back to another verse, right? So it's called the A-B section. Most of the time when I make my tracks, I make an A section, which is the verse, then a B section, which is verse 2, and then half of the B section in the last 4 bars is a kind of bridge and transition into the C section, which is the hook. But this right here is just utilizing the A-B method that I use. So if you listen to the track, it's not, I would give it a 5 out of 10, right? Let's get to the main part. I mean, mind you, this track was made in 2018, so it is old, but it's not great and it's not bad. Now, this is the rough version. This is not mixed. This is just the instrument version without it mixed, but still, the musicality is not the best beat you ever heard. And that's what I want to reiterate to you. You don't need to make the best music, because whatever it was this month, they want to use this song a lot. And I wasn't going to break this down, but someone had put in the comments that I should break down this track. And I thought, yeah, and I can teach a valuable lesson that you don't have to overthink your music. And even if you're not making music for sync licensing, if you listen to most music, it has a few elements. And that's because you need room for the artist, or in the case of sync licensing, the vocals and the dialogue of the track to cut through. So you don't want that much to distract. And this is just comes with a skill over time that you will learn that you don't need a lot of tracks. Most of my tracks that I make range between 12 and 20 tracks. It just depends. And sometimes those tracks are just layered tracks. So they're kind of doubling up. But I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. In the comments, let me know if you want more breakdowns like this. And if you still want to get into sync licensing and need a little bit of push and a little bit of help, check out one of these videos.